6 Minutes starts now.
They're headed back home, if there's one to go back to. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. People in the upper Florida Keys just now being allowed to return.
But the situation in all of the Keys is very, very dire. The farther south you go, of course, Irma coming on at Cudjoe Key, just slamming into it. They have no power. They have no water. They have no cell service. Food is running out down there.
Fox's Griff Jenkins in Naples.
I urge everyone impacted by the storm to continue to pay attention to your state and local officials.
Acting Homeland Security Secretary Elaine Duke a short time ago, thousands remain in shelters. More than 5 million homes and businesses are without power. That's more than half of Florida. Fox's Jeff Manasso is live in Tampa.
Dave, power outages and supply shortages, also rising water. The biggest concerns here into the weekend in places like flooded Jacksonville. Officials north of us in Pasco County telling some residents along a bloated river to get out. Damage continues to be assessed. Roadways and debris are being cleared and repairs slowly being done.
I just got home today and it's a pretty good hot mess we got here.
A little bit frustrated because we can't do anything just yet.
We're going to do a lot of tuna sandwiches and peanut butter and jelly until the power comes back on.
60% of the homes in this state without power. Much needed fuel supplies are also being brought in as millions of evacuated Floridians start making their way back home. Dave?
Jeff, President Trump keeps pushing for tax reform. Tonight he'll have a bipartisan dinner with 3 Republican senators and 3 Democrats. Fox's Ellison Barber says they are
Senators Joe Manchin of West Virginia, Joe Donnelly of Indiana, and Heidi Heitkamp of North Dakota. All are moderate Democrats up for re-election next year in states President Trump won.
Hillary Clinton says there are a lot of reasons why he won and she lost. Her book, What Happened, is out today. Clinton tells USA Today she's convinced there was collusion between Trump associates and Russia. President Trump calls the probe into that a witch hunt. Fox News, fair and balanced.
Home isn't just a place, it's a feeling that you're safe to enjoy the things that matter most. ADT lets you take that feeling with you. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, we help keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling for less than $1 a day. ADT. Home. Safe home.
As a small business owner, you're juggling it all, including customers' calls from your personal phone. But with Grasshopper, you get a business phone number and a business phone system from our mobile app, so you can work smarter, not harder. Grasshopper forwards calls, texts, even transcribes voicemails. Everything you need to simplify your business and stay responsive. With Grasshopper, there's no long-term contracts, and customer support is 24/7. Whether you're starting or growing your business, Grasshopper is the answer. Now get $20 off your plan when you visit grasshopper.com/radio.
As many as 10,000 may still need to be evacuated from the Florida Keys as rescue and recovery efforts get underway. A Navy aircraft carrier will be in the region today. An informational meeting will be held tonight to explain the Ocean County Recipient Voluntary Disclosure Program. It allows people who committed Medicaid fraud to avoid criminal prosecution. Former prosecutor Bob Bianchi says it's a relatively novel approach to recoup government money without allocating a lot of resources.
I think it's very unique, interesting, innovative, and a good idea.
Many residents aren't so sure. The meeting will be held at 7:30 in Toms River. The pilot of the helicopter that crashed in Medford Friday, killing country music star Troy Gentry, had reported mechanical problems just before it went down in Medford. Investigators say the pilot was trying to make an emergency landing. It appears to be a murder-suicide involving 2 corrections officers in Bridgeton. The bodies were found over the weekend, a couple in their 40s in the basement. It appears the man shot his girlfriend and then himself. I'm Eric Scott. This is the Town Square News Network.
The remnants of Hurricane Irma dominating the weather forecast not just for New Jersey, but the entire eastern half of the United States. We'll see passing clouds today and should stay dry during the daytime hours. Fairly pleasant with high temperatures near 80 degrees. A shower possible tonight. It'll be seasonably cool with lows in the lower 60s. Partly sunny tomorrow. Chance for a shower or storm at any time. Highs upper 70s to near 80s. As the remnants of Irma come overhead Thursday, we'll put widely scattered showers in the forecast. Highs in the lower 80s. I'm meteorologist Dan Zarrow.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame.
I want to congratulate my friend, Harry Hurley.
You're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Kirk Conover. Incidentally, Kirk will be away for the next 3 weeks. He did submit a note. He has excused absences for the next 3 weeks. Kirk, we'll see you in October, second week of October. So it makes it a month. Part of that, Kirk and Nancy will be in Hawaii, and there's just a lot going on. Kirk, I'll see you soon, but I'll talk to you before you go. All right, my friend. I'm just thinking that Kirk is not going to be on the program for 3 full weeks. That's unheard of. Chuck Malamut is here. This is his regular weekly program all about your financial matters. Chuck is in his 26th year here as our official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. We're very proud of that. Chuck is the managing director and leads his team, the Malamut Group, at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office. You can reach Chuck and his team for all of your financial planning needs by dialing 609-383-2010. And the following program that you're about to listen to is presented by Chuck Malamut, a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck Malamut and do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast and are subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley, Smith Barney, member SIPC. Chuck, I had a whole joke all planned. It was not at your expense. It was at my expense. But I utilized it in the last segment because Bill Southry said something that I couldn't resist. So I was going to begin the program. This has nothing to do, ladies and gentlemen, with Chuck's financial program, but a rare occurrence took place. Lightning struck because in a purely entertainment pool that we do together for the past, I can't believe it, but it's the 13th or so year. I think it's a full 12 years have been completed, 13th year of doing this for entertainment purposes only. And ladies and gentlemen, week one, Chuck Malamut, the contrarian, won the whole week. And Chuck, I was going to say to you that on air, but I used the joke last hour, but I'm going to use it again anyhow, that I would love to write a column about your great victory, but I no longer have a column. So I use that with Bill Southry, but the truth is I do have a column, and we'll be making an announcement on Thursday. Chuck, it's great to see you.
Harry, good morning. Quite a weekend for sure. If you take a look at the performance of the equity markets, it's clearly it was indicated yesterday with a strong pre-open and then a follow-through during the day, and ultimately, as we look at the market this morning, and again, we don't like to look on a day-to-day basis, but I think it is.
But I do every day anyhow.
Yeah, but I think it is terribly important that that the expectations that were put in last week, with the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ, all down anywhere, around that 1 to 1.5% range, is the fact that, the expectations were that the storm, the hurricane, the multiple hurricanes, the damage was going to be significantly worse than what the damage seems to be reporting right now.
Yeah. Still terrible, but not nearly what was expected. So the market had a really good day yesterday.
As Kirk was chatting about the barrier islands on the west coast of Florida. Perfect case in point. I was chatting with a client that has a vacation home on an island that is due west of Fort Myers. It's called Giuseppe. I've never heard of it until our client told us about this place. Had an opportunity to visit with him last spring, actually, go out and visit and tour the island. Beautiful place. 80% of the island was destroyed during Hurricane Andrew. And the reality is that they're sort of out in the middle of nowhere. And the reports back that he had provided us yesterday, as late as the afternoon, was that minimal damage.
Miraculous.
It was the storm.
I mean, they were there. They were there to be flattened if this had gone a different way.
Yeah, so if you kind of put that in perspective and you look at the economic effect of what the damage of the storm potentially could have been, again, it was billions of dollars that are lost as a result of the two hurricanes. But most of that is what I'll call the effective wealth of those homeowners that did not have the adequate or the proper insurance. And then it's a matter of, and I think Bob said it, in the last hour, he was, don't quote me, several $1,000s was the potential, is the damage versus,
seven
figures, upwards of I guess of $1 million plus. So I think it's 25. I mean, most people in the Houston area did not have adequate flood insurance. I think Florida's a little bit different. The fact that city of Miami has spent a considerable amount of money on their infrastructure and making certain that they are protected, so they came out pretty much unscathed. But now it's a matter of obviously the cleanup. I mean, if you remember, what happened with us with Sandy, and it just took it took weeks and months to get back on our feet, so to speak. And there's still areas north of us that are still have not been compensated and are still, suffering as a result of that.
And we even know, Chuck, we know someone in Ventnor that moved into their home in the past month, and that was in 2012.
Yeah, but Harry, when you look at any natural disaster, it's important to separate obviously the human tragedy from any economic impact, and obviously we've our hearts are go out to everyone that's been impacted by both Harvey and Irma. But putting that aside for a second, Harry, that natural disasters tend to coincide with short-term economic weaknesses. And history does suggest that the economies, for the most part, are able to rebound over a not too not too far apart from the actual event itself, when you mark time. So, if you look at it, we've had 5 major natural disasters over the last 15 years. We had Katrina. Mm-hmm. We had the U.S. tornado outbreak. We had, obviously, after that, we had Sandy. We had Harvey, and now we have Irma. Now you can't, we don't know the results of Harvey and Irma right now, but those other, disasters, natural disasters that were put in place, each of those disasters led to a significant spike in jobless claims in the immediate aftermath. Because you think about it, you're trying to get yourself back together. You can't get to work, and oftentimes
you're off the grid.
And oftentimes the workplace that you want to go to is they're not back operating, to begin with. So, but in each of those instances, the delocations or dislocations that were limited only to the affected region and did not meaningful impact the rest of the longer-term trends of the economy. So, obviously, refinery disruptions are, that has an impact. It has an impact. You talked about it just the other day with at the price of the pump. Refinery disruptions could in fact hurt the consumer, not only at the effective areas but also, within the country itself. On the flip side, you think about the money that's coming back in. The vehicles, that get destroyed, insurance we paying, for that. So you do have sort of a cause and effect. So we think the economic impact is going to be temporary. It has been in the past. And more importantly, events such as, Harvey and Irma, certainly bring back the importance, Harry, of having, and again in our world, a diversified portfolio. And so critical by having some assets that are out there so the consumer / client is prepared and in position if they need to get to their capital, to take care of these shocks and aftershocks.
Because people in
there.
Florida, people in Georgia even, the Gulf Coast in Texas. For example, Naples was unscathed, no problem. Houston, the mayor is calling for a 9% property tax increase. So these are things, when you hear about the government's response has been great and billions are going to come and all these different things, people are going to, this will be a ripple effect, Chuck. People are going to be impacted by this in many ways that really no one's talking about right now.
Yeah, and I think if you look at at what happened, Harry, with the market, yesterday, the fact, a couple of things we wanted to talk about as we get in today's discussion. North Korea sort of fallen off the map, at least, temporarily speaking. The damage
only because of other circumstances, because they're as provocative as ever.
Right. Now, the damage over the weekend, and you and Kirk kind of chatted about this, significantly less than forecast.
Yeah.
And if you look at, for instance, at the insurance stocks and the reinsurers, they had a big day yesterday because, when a storm like Irma is approaching, you're marking down the portfolio, so to speak, and the stocks of those companies, oftentimes move in that same direction. So,
but then when it's not as bad as expected, the
reinsurers had a big day yesterday. We don't talk, Harry, we don't talk necessarily about sectors. We don't talk about subsectors, but I think it is important to, that everyone understand, the importance of having a diversified portfolio. And just when you least expect something to happen, and think about this, as we got into the end of last week, there was a fair amount of pessimism in the marketplace, and there was a fair amount of selling as we got through the week. And lo and behold, if you tried to time the market, and you wanted to get back in yesterday morning, your first trade, you were up. The Dow was up over 200. So it's the old adage. It's spending time in the market versus trying to time the market.
Right. You would have been there, so you would have benefited, as opposed to you could not have predicted that this storm would not have been as bad as, and of course it's terrible for those that have lost everything, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Let's get our first break in. It's 17 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamut is here. Reminder for all of your financial planning needs, turn to the official financial advisor for me, and that is Chuck, 609-383-2010. I spoke with Sandy Fisher yesterday, and this is a perfect opportunity during a financial program such as Chuck's to talk about your public adjuster. And we have an official exclusive public adjuster for our program, and it's just been a great relationship. And who would have known? That within a short period of time after establishing our exclusive relationship with America's public adjuster, that we would have basically two significant, one Category 4 at least, the other Category 5 hurricanes in the Atlantic hitting land at basically the same time. Really unprecedented stuff. And I have an announcement about Sandy and Florida in just a moment. But just in general terms, for those of you listening, because we are still in the hurricane season, we're at the peak of the hurricane season right now. And anytime there's an impending storm or the possibility of a hurricane on the way, you need to prepare for the worst. Get ready to call America's public adjuster so that the next storm or event that causes you to have a fire, water damage, roof damage, tree hitting your home, any number of different things. For example, Disney World is back open today. A miracle, right? But the I was going to say river country, but that's a long, long time ago. The Fort Wilderness area, there's all the trees in that area. They have to inspect so many things. So that area is not open as of today. So many things happen during this kind of wind event and the rain and all the the terrible things that happen during storms like this. They can give you immediate response at America's public adjuster. You'll always get 24/7 live service, never an answering machine. Let me tell you what Sandy and I chatted about yesterday. Hurricane Irma alert for America's public adjuster. They will be in Florida. So if you have a home, and I can't even begin to tell you, and I know, Chuck, it's the same thing with him, how many people, like my friend Bob Progner, that has property here and multiple properties in Florida, so many people that that have connections, family, yourselves where you spend a part of the time maybe in Florida, the winters maybe, and then the rest of the year here. America's Public Adjuster will be in Florida. If you have a home or a relative who has a home in Florida, you can call Sandy Fisher, the team at America's Public Adjuster, 609-772-0789. That's 609-772-0789. So not only if you have an issue here at home, but if you have an issue in Florida as well, you can turn to America's Public Adjuster. Tell Sandy that I sent you. 609-772-0789. Back with Chuck in just a few minutes. Don't go away. This is Harry Hurley, and I'm with the Mayor, Charles Kane, owner and operator of the Auto Plaza, Egg Harbor Township. Mayor, tell your listeners who are looking for a car, why should they choose the Auto Plaza?
Harry, it's our full-service department, selection, and hassle-free financing alternatives that have set us apart for over 17 years. Over the years, we've been the recipient of many sales and service awards, as well as receiving an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. It's been a real honor for us. We are now serving a second generation of sales and service customers. Stop in today. You're going to love our staff and experience what makes us different.
For all of your automobile service, parts, and sales needs, call the Auto Plaza at 609-646-2447. That's 609-646-2447. And visit us on the World Wide Web at myautoplaza.com.
The Auto Plaza at English Creek. Roll with Mr. Tire.
Paul D'Amato.
Harry Hurley.
Paul, I know our listeners want to know what's new with the D'Amato Law Firm.
Things are great, Harry. We are so privileged to represent our clients whose lives have been turned upside down because they were involved in a serious accident. We meet on a regular basis. We copy our clients on all our correspondence so they always know what's going on with their case. We try to treat them like family. We have Alexa here, my daughter. I'm so happy that she's here. We have Steve Van Natten and Casey Gifford. We're a great legal team.
They're the D'Amato Law Firm for all of your personal injury legal needs. Turn to the official lead counsel to the Hurley in the Morning program for more than a quarter of a century. The D'Amato Law Firm in Egg Harbor Township, 609-926-3300. That's 609-926-3300. Tell Paul, Alexa, Sandy, the entire team that Hurley in the Morning sent you.
Why have over 3 million guys switched to Harry's razors? Because at Harry's, we give you less. We make just one razor with 5 German-engineered blades. Ding! All you need for a smooth and comfortable shave. And we got rid of upcharges. By owning the factory and cutting out the middleman, we're able to sell our high-quality blades for half the price of the other guys. Ka-ching! Now we're dropping the half-price sound effects guy.
Wait, why?
Not everyone can give you high quality for a fraction of the price. Harry's. One perfect razor. None of the extra noise. As a special offer for radio listeners, get an $18 shave set with an added bonus for free when you visit harrys.com and use code 1313 at checkout. Just cover a few bucks for shipping. That's harrys.com, code 1313 for a free shave set offer. Again, it's harrys.com, code 1313. Please note, no sound effects guys were harmed in the making of this radio recording.
Hey, wake up with Harry Hurley and drive home with me, Sean Hannity, 3 to 6. It's all happening here on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Chuck, I know you made a mention about tensions with North Korea. Is that something you want to expand on, or are we going to go on from there?
Well, Harry, you know, if we look at what happened last week, you know, in the market, there was a lot of attention with respect to the tensions that were developing with North Korea. And, you know, we're pretty much of the opinion or I guess hoping that this situation will ease. Now, there is really no realistic military solution to the issue if we look at it on the part of our country. And obviously China's influence over North Korea seems somewhat tenuous at this point in time. But our best guess is that we're going to see continuing and ongoing stalemate of economic sanctions, and that's, you know, that saber rattling that continues. But you know, you never know. I mean, because the Kim regime, Harry, is clearly set on joining the club of nuclear nations. U.S., Russia, China, UK, France, Israel, India,
and by the way, Chuck,
Pakistan.
It might just be a fake out, but for the second time at least, the entire UN Security Council voted unanimously to condemn this and appear, although I don't think it's pure from the China standpoint in particular, because they're the ones that have given them the technology, in my estimation, in the first place. But at least we have unanimous votes where the world is supposedly speaking in one voice that we will not allow North Korea to become nuclear.
Right, and if you take a look, Harry, North Korea, also believes it needs to continually prove its existence and strength of its arsenal through these ongoing, repeated tests and demonstrations. So, the question is, do they exhaust themselves, or are they for real? How important and how critical is it every move that they make, with respect to not only domestic equity markets but international as well. So if you take a look at like I said, is what happened yesterday and what we're seeing so far this morning is that the market is now focused on other things, and again, a lot of this is obviously natural disasters, geopolitical risks.
Let me ask you this, Chuck. This is something that I know regular, ordinary people that don't do what you do so well for a living, and perhaps don't even do what I do for a living. How is something so serious, but then it's basically off the radar, like it doesn't even count? It makes it like it's a scam, because they're more provocative today than they were when this was the end of the world, and yet because we can't chew bubble gum and walk at the same time, that's no longer a big deal. You got to admit, it makes it like it's phony.
No, your point's very well taken, Harry, and I'm going to kind of take that and segue into the ongoing coverage that we saw from afar with respect to the hurricanes, and I don't want to call it fake news. That's certainly not the case. But
I'll tell you what I did see one time, Chuck, and I'll tell you it got me angry. I saw a guy with a slicker on. He had goggles on.
I saw that.
And he's holding on to a tree, and I'm telling you, there wasn't a leaf. There wasn't a blade of grass that was blowing. I'm holding on. I'm not going to let go. Ah! And nothing was going on. I mean, some of them actually resorted to fake. But let me make a comment on this whole thing.
A lot of sensation.
See what you think of this.
To a certain degree.
A lot of this stuff that the media drives, they make it important until they decide that something else is more important.
Well, Harry, a perfect case in point is the devastating damage surrounding Houston, and that is going to take months, if not years.
But when there was Irma, Houston
they all took off.
Never even happened.
Yeah. So now you focus on Irma, and I was talking yesterday, Harry. We made an effort yesterday to connect with all of our either Florida residents or those that have homes in Florida. And the good news is we were able to connect with about 80% of them. All safe, minimal damage, and they were on the East Coast. They were on the West Coast. They were up in the Panhandle. So they were, it was a pretty good representation of where our clients were located. But one fellow, very, very intelligent guy, and you know him. He's been on your show before. He said to me yesterday, he goes, you like they lock you in to TV. Like I'm ready to go someplace, and I'm just standing there watching in disbelief, waiting for the next commercial to end to go to the next report.
And Chuck, it even gets worse than that, because during times like this, they're still there even while they put a next box up with the commercial. So then they don't even leave. It is almost like, see if you agree with this. They create a soap opera, and you can't leave.
Well, Harry, I was watching, where I was trying to connect the dots. There was one newscaster that was, I'm going to say, it looked like knee-deep in water, holding a microphone with a cord attached to the mic. The cameraman is filming and wiping the camera off. You can see with a cloth
yeah,
to get a clearer vision. And I'm saying, well, isn't some sort of
electricity
being sent?
Well, the camera is with a battery, so he's good.
Right.
The wired mic, you could get zapped.
Yeah,
most of them carry the cordless mic.
But
I have seen a few, and they're mostly the smaller stations that were affiliates that they were using. Most of your major networks, they have the wireless mic, and they're safe. But you're right. Look, I've seen crazy people. They didn't even have like duck boots on or anything. They're in just sneakers, standing in like waist deep water, and you're thinking like, what are you doing? What's going on here? And of course, they're telling everybody to leave, but then they're right there.
Yeah, and but look,
if anybody doesn't think that this isn't good for them, they're selling ads, Chuck. They're raising rates on the ads. Probably, I don't want to accuse anybody of anything that I can't prove, but that's typically what takes place. They 24/7. It was like OJ. I'm not going to say they love this, but they take full advantage of it.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Obviously, a lot of devastation. A lot. No, and the good news is that it looks like no one lost their life here in the U.S.
I don't think that's true.
No,
but
Irma?
it's yeah.
Okay.
I believe there has been loss of life, but it's very minimal. There has been though. I'm going to revisit that, but I'm almost sure that's the case. 31 minutes past the hour. We're going to take our halftime break. Chuck is here. Chuck is going to talk about treasuries. If there's anything more in terms of market reaction to natural disaster. Can the bull market continue? And who knows what else as we continue your Financial Matters with Chuck Malamut. For all of your financial planning needs, do as I do, not as I say. Turn to Chuck Malamut from Morgan Stanley. His group, the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office is at 609-383-2010. What I may do to not take away from Chuck's time, 16 years ago, and Chuck, every single year on September 11th, we replay my broadcast from September 11th of 2001 when the terrorist enemy hit us in real time. A lot of people might not know this. There is a hero from Morgan Stanley. I'm going to share his name with you, but I'm going to do it after Chuck's program in the few minutes that we have when Chuck finishes and I go to break and we come back. That way I won't take away from Chuck's time. He saved 2,700 people from Morgan Stanley. He did everything he probably shouldn't have done because he should have been out of there. He went back in to the World Trade Center and saved countless other people. This guy is such a hero. And the last time, there's actually video of him, the last time he was seen was going up a certain stairwell in the, I think, World Trade Center 1. And he was never seen again. I don't believe he was recovered even. The tower came down. As he was going back in again and again and again to save other people, including 2,700 from Morgan Stanley. That's a hero, Chuck. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Don't go away.
Hi, it's Tom P., South Jersey's hunting and fishing guy and host of Rack and Fin Radio here on WPG Talk Radio 104.1. Join me every Saturday morning at 6 to find out what's happening on the fishing, hunting, and boating scenes here in South Jersey. And we'll also talk about legislation that impacts you here in the Garden State. I'll have your earliest look at fishing hotspots, inside tips on how you can catch the big one, and more. That's Rack and Fin Radio with me, Tom P., Saturday morning at 6 on WPG Talk Radio 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
Shore Medical Center is your community hospital, and it is our mission to provide you and your family with the best health care in time of need. Shore's emergency department is proud to be recognized by patients as among the top 2% of hospitals nationwide in overall satisfaction and the quality of doctors and nurses who provide our emergency care. Shore's emergency department received top scores in how people are treated upon arrival, the caliber of testing and diagnosis, and the way in which family and friends were cared for. So when a medical emergency strikes, choose the best. Choose Shore's Medical Center's emergency department.
You know that place where the award-winning food at Gallagher's Steakhouse and Capriccio is always delicious? And the drinks at Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville are never empty. Where you can dance at Landshark Bar and Grill as the waves roll in. Then end your night on a roll. It's where fun is made easy. It's Resorts Casino Hotel, a Mohegan Sun property in Atlantic City. Get started at resortsac.com. The fun is here. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hi, this is Assemblyman Chris Brown. Join me on WPG each month to talk about the issues important to you and our hard-working families in Atlantic County. This is Assemblyman Chris Brown, and now back to my friend Harry Hurley.
Kirk Conover never ceases to amaze me. He knows the guy that I'm speaking about from Morgan Stanley. Chuck Malamut, time is yours.
So, Harry, we were going to chat a little bit about treasuries. If you take a look at last week at the 10-year, as we got to the end of the week with everything that was happening, the 10-year traded down to like just over 2%, 2.05. Right now we are about a 2.15. And we think that, Harry, that number is pretty inconsistent with what's happening with the economy, as you and Kirk were talking about. GDP in excess of 3%, and that hopefully being the new norm. Yeah. And what is happening in the fundamentals within the financial market. So, government over the last several years, Harry, government bond markets have tended to see sharp drops in yields when economic data disappoints or when uncertainty levels rise. So if you take a look, on the flip side, yields have been much slower to move higher when the opposite occurs. So we seem to think that yields right now are artificially low and should move higher over time. Hurricane-related uncertainty that we just chatted about, could depress, on the near-term economic activity. But again, as we talked about, earlier this morning, the recovery efforts should eventually end up creating some growth. When you look from a political perspective and, you think about it, there's been virtually no discussion. You've seen no news with respect to what's happening in Washington. While we expect some sort of tax reform to be passed, the Democrats, probably.
Whoa, let's time out. We saw something very big happen.
Well, no, but I'm saying you had one event. Yeah, you had one event. But I'm saying
the gambit, the deal, the
you
bipartisan deal.
You had one event, and it was big. But you think about, and again, it's like you said before, the media creates the stories that they want to create.
And if you notice, because that was done, it shut down any soap opera media storyline that they would have beat the drum for all this time. Now this is again kick the can. We raised the debt ceiling limit. We're over $20 trillion. I'd love you to comment on that, Chuck, because we can't continue like this.
So the event. So you think about the events that happened there. With Trump, Pelosi and Schumer. So we do expect some sort of tax reform to be passed. Obviously, the debt ceiling got pushed to December. Democrats, probably gain some leverage here on additional spending increases as we get to December. But both of those developments obviously should help the economy, and as a result of that, the point I was trying to make is that Treasury yields will probably trend higher, not lower. Now, think about this for a minute. As we got to the end of last year, all the strategists were calling for the 10-year to be north of 3 before we got to the summertime. Well, that obviously did not happen. And the 10-year trended lower to slightly over 2, and now we're at 2.15. I think there are some opportunities. You might want to take a look at it potentially of a mortgage refi if the situation is correct, if your house has the value, and you do the math. That is a possibility as well.
Chuck, can the bull market continue?
Well, Harry, despite all the risks that we've seen with respect, to the market, and there's a lot of things happening out there. higher valuations, lower volatility, Fed tightening, political risks, and political risk. I mentioned that last, but that's probably at the forefront. We might be overdue for some sort of correction at this point in time. It's been a long time since we have seen one, and you think about it, it's been actually 14 months since we've seen a 5% drop, and 19 months since we've seen a 10% drop in the S&P 500. But, absent a reversal in economic growth that you and Kirk talked about, or a drop in earnings growth, and we talked about that, just as of 2 weeks ago, Q1 and Q2 were exceptional. We don't see a fundamental reason, Harry, that would trigger a more pronounced setback at this point in time. So along with that, and the fact that you've had so much skepticism and so much cash sitting on the sidelines, skepticism is high. We still think the bull market at this point in time, while it's mature, still has some room to grow. We kind of talked about this, previously. Our chief strategist at Morgan Stanley, has called out best case scenario for the S&P to be close to 3,000.
Wow.
Worst case at 2,100. So you got a big gap between the two. But, you think about that, if we're able to achieve that, from this point in time, you're talking, a 21 times multiple with $142 earnings in the S&P 500, with a price target of, 12-month price target of 3,000. I mean, we got a lot of work to do. The base case is 2,700. And the bear case is, actually at 2,100, and we're 24,
almost 25,
2488. Yeah. So we got to, so don't forget about that, as we get towards the end of this year.
3-minute drill. And if you need a little more time, you can have it. But, I mentioned in the 6 o'clock hour, I mentioned it with Kirk in the 7 o'clock hour, that I was going to ask you to give your thoughts on, now that we have topped $20 trillion in our national debt, how significant of a problem is this?
One, it's a problem. Two, I don't believe it's a terribly significant problem, because we've weathered these storms before, and I think your next question is, are we going to pay it back?
Yes, because I see no signs that they ever intend to pay it back. So that I think about how a consumer, how a citizen that would amass completely unwielding debt and then say, I have no intentions of paying it back, we know how that would end. Obviously, they have more power, and have more flexibility and can do things that would be criminal for a private citizen to do it. But there doesn't seem to be any serious effort to treat this as though it's something that has to be paid back.
Harry, I agree with you, and I think you said it very well. Maybe it was in the last hour. First you take a mortgage, then you take a home equity loan, then you tap your credit card, and you go to another credit card, and you just max yourself out, and you get to the point where you don't pay anything. And I sort of sat back and thought about that as you and Kirk were chatting, and I don't think we have any intention of paying this debt back.
So what would that mean to a country that takes great pride in always keeping our word, in always paying our bills, full faith and credit of the United States of America? And I've often heard that, and I don't remember it now, but there's a number, and it's either 25 trillion or 26 trillion. There becomes a number where we're absolutely insolvent. I did some fast math, Chuck, and as you know, I wasn't as good at this as you were, but I have a little knowledge about how this works. I took over 10 years. We're talking about $6 trillion in just interest on the debt over the next 10 years. That's on top of the $20 trillion. I think it comes to a point where it's completely insolvent, unsustainable.
Well, we're not going to be an insolvent country. All right, our debt will, even though we had a downgrade, it's still, the strongest, if not number one, number two in the world. China, buys a lot of our debt. A lot, and as Kirk said, a lot of that debt is held, by us, ordinary people.
And their collateral is real estate.
Yeah, and you have in savings accounts, checking accounts, 401k accounts, brokerage accounts. So, I think all of us would be impacted, and Harry, I'm not a betting man, you know that.
So in other words, they'll never default.
Well, you never want to say never in our world.
Because remember, at the local level, we were talking about should Atlantic City declare bankruptcy. Think about the world.
We will never. I don't think, Harry, we will ever default as a country. I think there could be some changes, and there needs to be some changes.
And what are you saying? Creative ways to retire debt?
Yes. I mean, you think of what the Fed is doing now, normalization of their balance sheet, that along with increasing interest rates, so they sort of got off the track of the rate increase and said, we're going to sort of normalize our balance sheet. So I think that, those are the kinds of steps that we need to take. But, remember, we are a very, very generous nation, always reaching out to those in need. And unfortunately, I think what happens is we oftentimes forget about those in need within our own country, and we oftentimes forget about what the long-term effects of that are going to be. But that's what we were born and raised to do, and I think that's what we've instilled in our children and in future generations. So I think there is a solution to decrease the debt. I don't think the debt goes away. It's an entirety, and I'm pretty much of the belief that there is not going to be a default. How's that?
I'm with you on that, but I think it's more because they can manipulate the rules of the game.
Well, I'm not going to,
well, if you look at the size of the problem, what would any company in America or any private citizen that if you scaled it to make it...
You try to restructure.
Right.
Okay, and it's a question of... as you said before, every 2 years there's an election in place, and it's election to happen. And what's more important, getting reelected or getting elected, or reshaping, the financial conditions of our country.
Getting reelected.
So I think when you understand that, and I'm going to kind of take a segue here for a second, because Mike and I spent a fair amount of time looking at municipal debt that we own with our clients in Florida and Texas. And it was interesting to see how that debt traded right after these hurricanes. They held. That's why the rating agencies, Moody's, S&P, become very, very important, because it's like anything else, you need to understand what you're buying and why you're buying it. Is that debt insured? If not, is it a AA plus? I mean, there's a whole lot that goes into debt that most investors and most of your listeners don't really understand. That's not, Harry, I'm not saying that in a bad way or a critical way, but they're just not, most people are not educated with respect to the way debt works and how important debt is.
In other words, there's a such thing as good debt and bad debt.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Chuck, awesome.
Harry, thanks for having me. I'll see you next week.
Enjoyed it so much. Chuck Malamut, the Malamut Group, for all of your financial planning needs, 609-383-2010, 609-383-2010. I'm going to talk about, on the other side of this break, another Morgan Stanley hero next.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Simplify Medical's clinical trial for spinal disc replacement. Visit simplifytrial.com.
If you've ever wanted to drive an electric vehicle, well, now's your chance with the Atlantic County Utilities Authority Drive Electric event on September 12th. Here to tell us all about it is President of the ACUA, Rick Dovey.
It's an opportunity for people to experience what electric vehicles are all about. They can actually take a test drive, ask questions of the owners and operators of these vehicles.
What are some of the benefits of owning an electric vehicle?
Well, first of all, there's no emissions. And then there's an economic benefit, because electric vehicles have many less moving parts and things, so maintenance costs are seriously less expensive.
So this is coming up on Tuesday, September 12th at the ACUA Wind Farm.
Right, in Atlantic City at 12 noon.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Simplify Medical's clinical trial for spinal disc replacement. Visit simplifytrial.com.
Fall is the best time to feed your lawn. With 10% off Scott's Turf Builder Winter Guard Fall Weed and Feed and Fall Lawn Food at the Home Depot. Scott's Turf Builder Winter Guard feeds your lawn to build strong, deep grass roots for winter when you need it most. So it'll be lush, green, and beautiful next spring when you want it most. Scott's Turf Builder Winter Guard Fall Weed and Feed and Fall Lawn Food. 10% off now at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Valid through October 4th.
We interrupt your broadcast to bring you this, a phenomenon from Wendy's that can only be described as a giant Junior Bacon Cheeseburger. A delicious anomaly doubling the size and taste of Wendy's iconic Junior Bacon Cheeseburger. Double the bacon, double the cheese, and good heavens, double the fresh, never frozen beef. And what's this? A Wendy's giant Junior Bacon Cheeseburger with nuggets, fries, and a drink for just $5. Run to your nearest Wendy's.
At participating Wendy's for a limited time. Meal includes small fries and a drink. Not valid in Alaska and Hawaii. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Hello, I'm Anthony Marchetta, Executive Director of the New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency. Ready to own your own home but need help with your down payment and closing costs? Take advantage of our forgivable loan programs today and make your dream of homeownership in New Jersey a reality. So get started today by visiting our website at theroadhomenj.com. That's theroadhomenj.com.
This message sponsored by the New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency, the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Hello, beautiful. I'm Amy Errett, founder of Madison Reed, a hair color company I named after my daughter. One of the things I value most in life is time. Time to spend with my daughter, time to spend with family, and the time I put into my company that's reinventing the way women color their hair. The busiest, most successful women I know use Madison Reed, the amazing hair color hack. In under an hour and for less than $25, Madison Reed delivers gorgeous, shiny, multi-dimensional, healthy-looking hair with an ammonia-free formula. You'll look like you just came from a salon, but the reality is you have more me time to do what you love. Things get busy. Let us take care of you and your hair. Find your perfect shade at madison-reed.com and get 10% off plus free shipping on your first color kit. Use code HELLO. That's code HELLO. Try it. Love it. That's the beauty of Madison Reed.
It's the Lexus Fall Collection Sales Event, and now is the time to buy a new Lexus from Lexus of Atlantic City. Drive home in a bold 2017 NX turbocharged crossover. For a limited time, get 2.9% financing for up to 72 months. Or choose a 2017 IS300 Sport Sedan with 1.9% financing. Buying a luxury car is never intimidating at Lexus of Atlantic City. It's luxury at the right price. Visit them at 3169 Fire Road in Egg Harbor Township or LexusofAtlanticCity.com.
Grab your friends and jump, bounce, and slide your way into fall fitness fun with Insane Inflatable 5K. Register between September 12th and September 16th using promo code FALL15 and take $15 off your registration. Get ready to celebrate fall with an insanely good time and take advantage of our best sale of the year.
Register today at InsaneInflatable5K.com.
The Insane Inflatable 5K is the most fun, wild, and insane obstacle run in the world. And on Saturday, October 7th, it's at Flying W Airport in Medford.
Hi, it's Brian Kilmeade. Join me next at 10, then Sean Hannity at 3. Now back to Harry Hurley on WPG Talk Radio, 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
I want to give a full credit to this because I saw this morning at about 3 o'clock in the morning. Rick Santoro has this up on his Facebook page, and it's so profound. You see the plane striking the World Trade Center, and then you see Rick Rescorla. He heard a big explosion while he was at his office. He looked out from his window on the 44th floor of the South Tower, and he saw the North Tower in flames. And these images are just incredible. Rescorla was a former, and I have to refer to him in the past tense because he gave his life on September 11th, 2001, a former Army hero, and he was responsible for the safety of 2,700 Morgan Stanley employees. There was a security message that announced that everyone should stay at their desks, but Rescorla ignored the announcement. He systematically ordered the employees to evacuate, and he evacuated almost all Morgan Stanley employees. Then he wasn't done. He went above and beyond. He went back into the World Trade Center to save more people. When one of his colleagues told him that he had to evacuate the World Trade Center, Rescorla replied, quote, as soon as I make sure everyone else is out. He was last seen on the 10th floor heading upwards shortly before the South Tower collapsed at 9:59 a.m. An amazing story. Rick Rescorla was one of the 2000, and I've heard 2009-96, and I've heard 2009-97 that gave their life that day. But he saved almost 2,700 lives himself. He died as he lived, a hero. And it's a great story. And this was an awesome item that I came across this morning, and I made it a point that I wanted to include it at the end of Chuck's program. And Chuck has just left the building. We'll see you next week, Chuck. Got it, buddy. We are going to be an open forum for the remainder of the program, and the reason why, Dr. Bob Zlotnick, and you may have heard him in past programs of his, talk about his uncle. His uncle, and I'm pretty sure this is accurate. I know his uncle passed away last Tuesday, and today is the funeral. But I believe his uncle passed away on his 101st birthday. So he lived to be 101. And most of those years, still very active. Again, I'm sketchy on a couple things. I think his uncle was an attorney, or he had some kind of very nice professional classification, and he worked, I think, really right up until the not-too-distant past. And for nearly a century, he was on his own, living by himself, caring for himself at like 99, going on 100 years. So Bob will not be able to be with us today. We're going to reschedule and have another date this month that works for Bob, and have him back in so we don't miss his program. But so on short notice, and we learned about this yesterday, we have Wide Open Forum coming up. I thought there were many guests. I was thinking about Brad Blakeman, or maybe calling Roger Stone, or doing something political. But I thought, you know what? There's so much that's going on. Let's just have some open forum. Take your phone calls. See what's on your mind. Let me take the last couple of minutes that we have here, because I said yesterday morning that I was going to make a comment about the situation regarding the weekly column that we've been writing for many, many years. I had a conversation because I wasn't obviously satisfied with the way that things were handled by Chris Worrell, the executive editor and the vice president of news for Berkshire Hathaway, and, of course, the Press of Atlantic City and the weekly newspapers, The Current and The Gazette. It wasn't the news. It was, you might think it sounds like one of those people, it's not that, it's the process. But it was just the way that it was handled, very, very poorly. So I had a conversation with her boss, the publisher of the newspaper, who I have known for a long time, is just a really good guy, ethical guy, good guy. So we had a really good conversation. He apologized. He thought that it was hideous. I'm not going to talk too much out of school, but that much, I will say. He thought it was very poorly handled. He offered repeatedly his apology for himself and for his employee, and said that, the employee should apologize as well, and we'll see if that will happen. I'm not holding my breath, but it would be the professional thing to do. And we had a really good conversation, though. I like Mark a lot. He's a really good guy. He wouldn't do something like that, I can tell you that, but his subordinate did. And I wanted to let you know that conversation took place. It was very polite. I also want to let you know, because I do believe that the events are inexorably linked, because I don't think it's a coincidence that my Stockton University column was never, ever posted at the website of the newspaper. If you go there, and they're still there, and I would ask them to still keep the archives, because I'm going to get them a lot of hits. People look these things up and want to read these things, to keep them there. I order you to keep them there. That'll be a quick way to get them taken down. But the last one was my Charleston column, not the Stockton column. That's not lost on me. Also, it did not run in all editions. It ran in some and not in others. And I wrote and sent, at the same time I submitted my column, a column 500 words longer, where I had even more background on Richard Stockton himself and some things that just there wouldn't be room in the print edition. That didn't get posted. So none of that is lost on me. Now, the only thing I can't prove is, who did what and why was it inexorably linked, as I believe it was. But Harvey Kesselman and I, for the first time over the weekend, we haven't spoken yet, but we definitely exchanged some very, very polite, positive emails, and I have every expectation, of getting back on track with him as well. It's just a disagreement on an issue, not something that you should burn the house down over. So I have a lot to update you on. I'll finish this next.
WPGG Atlantic City, WSJO 104.9 HD2 Egg Harbor City. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
More Floridians are going back home. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
This is going to be a frustrating event.
FEMA Administrator Brock Long says, especially in the Upper Keys, where people are being allowed to return this morning.
The majority of the homes there have been impacted in some ways, with several of them destroyed and many more with major damage.
People in the Lower Keys will have to wait longer for more road repairs. In Jacksonville, which got some bad Hurricane Irma surge flooding, leading to 356 people being rescued yesterday, mandatory